spend at the other end of the health spectrum just continue to get bigger. And so we're literally digging our graves with our teeth. Okay? We're overfed, we're undernourished, we're feeding our bellies, but not necessarily the cells and what they need to get. And in the same sentence, 70% of these chronic diseases we know come from not getting enough fruit and veggies. And so we all have good intentions each day of getting enough of these things in our body, but there's life. Life then gets in the way. There's kids, so I'm talking about me. You know, I was the guy who was teaching health seminars, you know, making movies about it. But if I got real, you know, there were some good eating days, but there was a lot of bad eating days in between. And same with our kids. And so when you look at the stats on that, about 3% of adults actually get enough fruit and veg. About 1% of kids do. And the World Health Organization, if you do your little audit, what you've done over the last day or so, it's 7 to 13 serves. So there's clearly a need for something to fill that void. And so when we look at the products that we have, Juice Plus, it's exactly that. It's the next best thing to fruit and veggies. Without the mess, without the fuss, without the expense. And so we take a variety of 33. So you've got 11 berries, you've got 11 fruits, and also 11 veggies, all across the colours of the rainbow, where they're grown in peak conditions. Beautiful soils, nutrient dense, and then they're grown to the peak of their ripeness, so on the vine, and that's when all the goodness comes in. So if you go to Woolies and Coles and you look at what's on the shelf, why do we choose that particular produce? Because it looks good. It makes no sense. Because that's not what the birds and the bees do. They went to those last, you know, few days, few hours when all of the nutrients come flooding in. The other thing that happens then is when it's picked, it's turned straight into a slushy, and then they evaporate the moisture so that all of the enzymes are still intact, so it's a very low temperature. And then they actually put it into a vegan capsule. Now this is really key. So if I had an apple here and I cut it, what would happen within a few minutes? It oxidizes, you start seeing brown, and so it's starting to lose its nutrient value. So that encapsulation process is really key, because it means that we don't need to add any preservatives, no nasties to it. It's just fruit and veg inside a capsule. Pretty cool, right? We get asked, is it organic? And I think, you know, it's better than organic. Because from the farm to the capsule, it's tested 4 different times for over 300 known contaminants. So you know everything that's in that capsule is the best of the best. Anything that's not, the company actually discards. So you have this incredible product. What they do then is take those powders and mix it with some vegetable pectins, and they turn it into a chewable form. These are empty, as I'm sure most people in the room's packets are, because they just get eaten. And the beautiful thing about the company is they're really a company with a heart. So for every adult on the product, they can sponsor a child at no cost from ages 4 to 18 for 4 years, which is pretty wild. We've been in this business just on 4 years as well, I know, because our 4 years just ran out. And so now we've got to start paying for the Chewies. And our kids are like, where's the Chewies? And we were kind of like shirking it for a couple of months. And like, no, where's the Chewies? They demand it. And we get a lot of stories like that, where parents are really pulling their hair out. I can't get enough fruit and veg into the kids. They start them on these Chewies, and then they're caught at the vegetable crisper, munching on carrots, munching on cucumbers. And that's the beautiful thing about the product. I mentioned being overfed and undernourished. When you put this in your body has an intelligence, an innate intelligence, and it can only do its best work when you have the right ingredients inside of it. And so when you start flooding your body with this incredible nutrition, it just does its best work. The other thing that we've got is, you guys don't like vanilla? So we have these chocolate and vanilla whole food smoothies, and they are phenomenal. It's all plant-based, it's non-GMO, gluten-free, dairy-free, things in it like amaranth and broccoli sprouts and alfalfa sprouts, and all these things that, again, your body knows exactly what to do with it. So the last thing that I'll talk about is these plant plant-based omegas. Who's taken omegas in the past, like fish omegas? What's the downside to those things? The burps, the dead fish, yeah. So there's definitely an environmental issue there of all the fish that gets killed and discarded. But for our personal use, you look at the fish, and where do they get their oils from? Well, it's from eating the algae, from eating specific things. So we bypass the fish, just go straight to the source and get this incredible product without having to have any harm. I love that there's not a catalogue of products, so when I looked at this and I looked at the product, I'm like, there's definitely a need for these products. The other thing that was important to me with those kind of health science background was that there was some research to it. That was next level. It is the most researched nutraceutical of its kind on the planet. So almost 40 peer-reviewed studies, and they're still coming on and on and on. So I became really confident in the product. But then for me, it was all about what does it actually do in the human body. So we might have a few stories. So I've got Jimmy and Michelle. If you guys want to come on up, give them a round of applause. They'll be shy.